Okay, we are live, and we have the beautiful beings of light here today. We got Patrick Perna down in the bottom there, shining with all his wood-enabled halo there, and Anya with her black Empress throne there, and we're ready to go. Okay, so we're live and I can see stuff showing up there. See it so I can see comments. Okay, so we talked a little bit and we wanted to go into the topic of safety and how people feel safe. And I think this is going to be different for everyone. I'll go over some of the basic ones, like things like having a family, having a husband or wife. They kind of take care of you. Having a home, having a good job. A lot of these are societally programmed, and we're going to go down to the depths in some of this stuff and explore it. Having money in your bank account, having a reliable car, all the things that in a lot of ways give you your independence. But I think it's kind of twisted that the independence doesn't come from having those things. The independence is having yourself at the heart of it, and we're going to explore potentially finding safety within ourselves, and everybody like tools for that and how we get there, and just looking at it, because a lot of people say they want to feel safe. What are those things? Like money's probably the biggest one. Like, oh, if you otherwise fight or flight, you're going to have no food and you're going to die tomorrow, and all this kind of stuff. If you don't have money, or you don't have a home, you have no warm place to live, or whatever. They all create drives in us that we would not normally recognize, because they're built so fundamentally into our self-definition and what we have to do to be able to stay safe, be safe, etc. So yeah, so that's kind of my picture of what safety is. You guys choose who goes first there, of what your perception of safety is from a 3D kind of less aware perspective. Anya went first last time. You said
I don't think I have much to add to that. Like,
okay.
I mean, you want to try and have it come from a 3D perspective, and I have to reach back into my memories. You remember, I'm mostly in the fifth density mindset, so safety to me is tied in with just having unconditional love and trust and faith that everything's going to be okay. And I've given up all the certainty in my life, so that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know that. I've totally surrendered to the universe and trust that I'm going to be safe and that everything's going to work out. So,
well, we can state some of those things: expectations, obligations, how people will fundamentally react gives you a safety. Like expecting, if somebody says their word, then it's a safety that's going to follow through. But you've actually found that actually being in full surrender and not expecting anything,
it's way easier.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And when I interact with 3D people, like, because I'm living with my parents now, they have a hard time. They're like, well, trying to find out, well, you can do this as a job, or you could do this, or you could do that, or all these things, because they're still in that world of fear and worry and doubt and all this other stuff. And it doesn't exist in my world anymore. So I'm just like, I don't know how it's going to work out. I have to stop myself from saying it's just magically going to appear, because that's how it is for me. But they'll just laugh and not understand that at all. So it's interesting having to interact with them to deal with their ways that they need to have their safety. So.
But that's fundamentally because they love you and they want you to fit into the norm, and as long as you're in the norm, they feel you're safe, right?
Right, exactly. But I threw that box out a long time ago. So
absolutely. Cool. Okay, Anya.
I think of it's always easy to be in that prevent scarcity, prevent loss mindset. We're always paranoid of just this preventing this thing from happening. So it's like it then puts us in our brain, in our biology, into that fight or flight, anticipating the next thing to go wrong. And so we're looking for it. We're constantly looking for it, and we don't even know it. And our body gets so jacked up. And then all of these chemicals are being released because your body, you're putting it in your nervous system into that fight or flight mode. And that's something that we needed when, you know, we were still developing civilization, and you could be, I don't know, lunch tomorrow. So you needed that. But like, we don't need to use that part of our brain and our body as much. Like, this is the safest that the world's ever been in. Like, you could just be in a flow of creation, but still we are on that brain level of just like protection, fight or flight.
Would you call right now the safest we've ever been in civilization? It
Yes.
was really interesting you said that.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Absolutely. It is the safest. That was the most glorious time to be alive. Like, look at the advancements we have. Like, look at this technology like, I'm talking to you guys in Canada right now, like seamlessly, and everyone can watch this. Like, now is the best time to be alive.
So you've transitioned your safety into something else, but everybody else is on like, I got to wear a mask and I got to keep other people safe, and not even my safety, it's their safety, and I got to get the vaccine now, and to make people feel comfortable, I got to wear a mask after I've got the vaccine. It appears to be the truth, but none of it really gives safety. It's just a perceived thing, right?
It's a procedure.
Yeah.
It's a procedure.
Well, it's compliant, right?
Perceived is the perfect word, because those things in that third density mindset, you feel you need to have those to gain that safety. But if you raise your consciousness and choose love over fear, you're going to find that safety just from being, just from going within. Like everybody on this path tells you, it's so overused, but it's so correct in every situation. Go within, go within. Everything you need is within you. You don't need to find whatever it is you're looking for, including safety, outside of you with things and vaccines and masks. You don't need that. Just feel for everything, and you'll find it in you. And just be safe.
I hugged a stranger like over last summer when there was like a huge panic. For some reason, like, I was just talking to him, and this was an older gentleman, and he was a stranger. We were just getting in line to get pizza, and I was just like, can I hug you right now? And I just hugged him. And then later I told someone that story, and they were just like, why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. It's dangerous. Like, no, it's not.
You went with what felt right at the moment. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So
like, I have only one person in my entire family and extended family that will hug. Everybody else is too afraid of it. So, like, oh my God, look what it's doing to you. People are allowing fear to edge love out of their life. It's crazy.
Well, my sister came from Vancouver, which is like 1,000-kilometer drive, to go look for a house, and they went and saw my mom and dad, and they finally stood in their boundaries. In the past, they would have been kind of bowled over, and it's like, oh, my daughter and kids, but they were really afraid of having them come into the house, and they'd been exposed, and so they made an agreement, and they stood 5 feet apart, and I love you. Nobody agreed to hug, nobody, just to meet that comfort zone. And it was kind of awkward, clunky, but my mom said she was happy that it happened, and they were respected. And because I know last summer it was different. It was like there was an obligation, and then they came, and everybody felt weird, but they'd hug them, but not us. It just turned into this strange thing, because what's safety, right? So, okay, so because we're talking more about what it feels like to be in the 5D. So let's break some of them down. So home, let's start there. A home is that place you can go home and sleep and feel safe and get out of the blankets and maybe go back to your childhood feeling of safety, of being enclosed in a space that's yours. But at the same time, that home comes with it power and water and sewer bills and mortgage or rent check, and then insurance. And so what I'm suggesting is, to get that version of safety, there's a price you pay for it. in all those things, right? We don't have a guaranteed home. I guess some people, their parents will give that option to them until their 30s or whatever. You can stay here anytime. I'll still have your childhood room if needed. So that becomes a fallback of safety. But does that home really give you a safety, right? You can still have a home invasion. You can still have something bad happen, or the house start on fire, or the furnace breaks down and that house is unusable now if it's minus 30. So all of a sudden your safety, is it really that house? And that's the percolation that we're trying to start here. Is the house really your safety, or is it just a safe place that you can kind of go back to your corner in the boxing ring of life where you can kind of lick your wounds, right? But as we've progressed, where is that place? That place is where? I'll explain mine in a minute, but go ahead. Where does home feel for you now? Because I know you guys are even in displace mode right now, right?
We're homeless.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
For
speak to
me,
that. Go ahead.
For me, home is, like you said, you kind of touched on it there. Where do you feel home is? Home is a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you can tune into from within. I look at so many of the people in the light working community, all the star seeds, oh, they're longing for home. I want to go back to Vega. I want to go back to Arcturus. I want to go back to Sirius. Or here. That's not who you may have attachments to that, but home is where you are. I love this body. I love this planet. I would not want to be anywhere else. I have super strong ties to Arcturus, but this is my home, where I am right now. 2 weeks, I'm going to have a new house to live in. That'll be my home then. Home is wherever I am. It's the frequency I choose to tune in. Wherever I happen to be sitting, whether it's here, there, on the street, wherever, that's my home. So because I'm choosing that frequency.
How can you be safe in your body if you've got traumas and you're living this high out of your body because I got to pay my bills?
How can I be safe? Because I'm choosing love. You choose love. Why say that? Safety is tied into lack, and it's one of the fears. When you choose love over fear, you don't have to worry about safety, because again, worry is another fear. It's just going to work out for you. That's how it does for me.
Mm-hmm. And I always remind people at that point, it's like, yeah, you can get to the point you're homeless on the street, but even then, how many homeless people are dying? Like, people are getting caught. I know lots fall through the system, but it's like there's like low cost housing or shelters for women or these kind of things that you can go to, and society is still picking them up. Or a lot of times you're going to your friends, or you go back to your parents. So really, you're not in that fight or flight death battle every day, because some of these things will pick you back up. And we're only manifesting the worst that could possibly happen to us, but a lot of us aren't in control of our brain of what's coming. So when we get on a spiral of debt or whatever, we fear the worst, so it just keeps pulling more and more of losing.
Well, and a lot of those people on the street, they don't have that fear because they have nothing left to lose. They're already on the street. They own nothing.
Yep.
So they don't have that fear. They're like, well, how much worse can it get? I have my health. I have this. They figured
they got to worry about a warm bed.
The more you have, the more you have to lose. Yeah. And it's tied into the fear and the safety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it isn't the home, it's the presence in you, is what you're trying to say. And how do you build that presence? How do you build that home in your heart?
You have to just keep doing your inner work, going within and finding the darkness, doing your shadow work, looking for all your fears, facing all your fears. I have a completely different attitude now. Before I had my awakening in my near-death experience in 2015, I was like everybody else. I had all these fears, and you just try to ignore them and let them be. And now if I go within and I'm like, oh wow, I'm afraid of that. Like when I started doing these videos, one of the big things why I started doing this was, oh my God, I don't want to be on a video. I don't want the world to see me. I'm fucking terrified of this. So what did I do? I'm like, fuck, all right, let's go out. I'm going to do this. I want to face this fear. Now it's gone. I've made room for more love in me. That's how you get rid of them all. You have to face them.
Well, and now that Patrick's admitted it, if you go back to the very first one, it's like 6 or 8 videos back, you can see it. He goes offline a couple times and he's really jumpy and nervous now that I watch it. But at that time, I didn't know you even had the slightest fear. I thought you'd been doing this for a long time, but you can
yeah,
now.
I spent the first half of the video like sweating and I was all clammy,
Yeah.
freaking out.
Yeah.
I couldn't focus on anything. My mind would keep wandering. It was like, oh my God, what's going on? That's fear, but you got to face it. You can't run from that.
Yeah. And now look at, we're what, 8 videos in and he's wearing his sweater and just loving it, right?
Right. I'm totally comfortable and I'm me, unfiltered.
Right. So I just want to go because not everybody will know what shadow work is. Please explain what shadow work is for you.
Okay. Yeah. Shadow work is everything that we hide from, all the darkness, all the things that we were told right from when you were a baby. Oh, you shouldn't be like that, or you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. All those things that we were told not to be fester inside of us. It's so you have to go and find all the negative things in you. You're not supposed to be angry. You're not supposed to be this. You're supposed to be, because everybody lives with a certain things of culture. In this work culture, you're going to say this, you can do that, but you can't do this and you can't do that. It's the same with family. You have a familiar culture. You can say this, but you can't say that. You could do this, but you can't do that. And so all those things that you're told you're not supposed to do, you're not supposed to have, that they shame you if you let it come out. It all becomes part of your shadow self. Mm-hmm. And that shadow self is a part of you, and you have to learn to just keep facing it and loving it, because as much as the darkness might scare you, it is a part of you, and you can't have darkness without the light. And so you have to be able to go within and find all that darkness and all the things that you were told, all those things that I mentioned, to love and to let them come out. Allow yourself to get angry. Allow yourself to experience all these things from a place of love and non-judgment. And then as you love and heal all these and come with all these pieces of you and integrate them all, you become a full loving being. And they usually will not come out after that, because there's no need. Why do I want to feel angry? I don't enjoy that. That was one of the family karmic things. I came from my dad's side. He had a horrible temper, and I went back and I saw it from my grandfather, and he had it even worse. And I came in here to break that chain, to finally end it. And it feels great.
To go through the energy of it, right?
Right, exactly. You have to feel it. You have to feel it. You have to go through some horrible feeling, unenjoyable things. But once you go through them and feel them, not judging them and loving yourself the whole time, they all get integrated and just become a part of you. Exactly. Magic.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to add to that, Anya?
No, I think that was spot on.
Well, I'll add to what Patrick said a little bit. So look at your dark side as the dungeon of yourself, and it's self-created. You created this body, this whatever, and you banish stuff to yourself about yourself eventually into cages. It's like, oh, it's bad if I talk back to other people, or it's bad if I raise my voice or whatever. And literally you built little cages around parts of usually your inner child. And it's like, oh, I can't talk back and I can't speak. And you got like choking rage in your throat because you've turned off all these things. Eventually what you're going to realize is probably 50% of the essence of you has been labeled bad or dark in some way, shape, or form. And it's locked in this dungeon that's controlled by you. And you don't even know it because you made these choices. People said the things and you believe them because it was, I'm being a good person, or I'm being a good boy. A lot of them come in at under 8 and you don't even get to judge or interpret whether they're really valid or not. And now we're sitting with half of ourselves in a cage, and you don't want to get angry, but anger is just underneath and it's just waiting to come out and just freaking slash people. That's your trauma. And when you get mad, it'll come out and it'll say, F you, or say the worst thing about that person, because that part of you is caged. And if we can start, like Patrick was saying, go in, have a discussion with that piece, and then start to release some of the cage pieces and say, okay, it's okay to talk back when it serves me, and it's okay to yell and scream sometimes in a controlled way so that I get my power across and I'm not always bowing out. All of a sudden those parts become light. All of a sudden there's no darkness in us in essence. Like, do you want to go out and murder people or whatever? That's not usually the part of of the human experience, unless you're affected by darkness and let more dark forces in. You have the ability to do it, but most people are light. They've just been so closed off, they don't know that those negative thoughts are just part of them trying to get free again. So shadow work is walking into the dungeon, and then there's a dark spot in the dungeon where there's dragons in it, everybody says, and you really got to go there and walk in it and like, holy fuck, this is my dad's energy and I'm terrified and he's screaming at me and I think he's going to hit me. And you sit there and you just love it and you say, no. And then he doesn't hit you. And then you realize it's you because you were dealing with it, Patrick, yourself. And you had to go to that point and feel all that rage and then finally decide that this is getting no one anywhere. And is that true for yours? I'm speaking of an experience that's yours. I apologize.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because you can't, though the vibration of those feelings are not good. You don't create good things. Like think I mentioned to you last time, the last time I got really angry was like 2 years ago. And I ended up making myself like sick, like flu-like sick for like a whole week because of one day of anger for like 5 minutes. And that was kind of the last, like, oh my God, wow, wake up. I had my new awareness. Okay, let's deal with this and stuff. Because the anger and trauma went back from childhood. Like when I was a kid, my dad got so mad, he dragged me up by my foot up the stairs with my head smashing off each stair. I don't even remember what I did wrong. But I did something that pissed him off and he fucking went off on me. That's what he did. Mm-hmm. But why do you want to feel this way? Look what he allowed his anger to do. Somebody that he still loved, and I know he did in his own broken way, still loved me. Makes you assault somebody because you're still in the reacting state and you're not creating your feelings. You're just reacting to situations. Oh, and it's just, it's madness. Well, stop being a victim to your feelings. Stop being a reactor. Start creating and choosing what you want to be in every moment.
Mm-hmm. And I bet you if you could ask your dad why he did that, it was a rage against his dad or even further up the lineage.
Right, it just goes back because it's his learned behavior, and he wasn't the one that was incarnated to break the chains. He just repeated what his dad did in his mind to a lesser degree to try and soften it a bit, and then but continued on with the same destructive and toxic patterns.
And not even knowing why. Yep.
Exactly.
And just share to the audience, when you released it, it wasn't like a burst of rage and fuck you, dad, or whatever. How did it feel as that transition happened and you let it go?
It was, I don't know. I just made a conscious choice of choosing love over anger in the darkness because I felt better. This is what I choose to feel. This is how I want to be. And I wrote journals, and I ended up writing a note in my phone because I went back to when I was still working as a delivery driver. I went back to deliver to the store that was literally right beside the condo that he lived in, where all this mess in my life had started. And everything just came over me, and I started going over all my memories, and I went in and did this journal on my phone, and it was like a letter to my dad, and basically telling him off and saying, hey, did you know this was going to happen? And I let it all out, and I typed it all out on my phone. And as soon as I did that, I was just like, I instantly felt better because I got it all out. Everything that you're not supposed to say, I said. I let him know as if he was standing right next to me, and I felt instantly better.
It didn't even have to be in person, right? Was your
father... You just have to allow it out. You have to get it out.
Yeah.
You can say it out loud. You can scream it. I like Anya talks about it. Journaling is a good thing. I didn't have my journal. I did it in my notepad on my phone. It's a way to get your thoughts out of your head so that you can basically hear yourself. You're hearing yourself say it and feel it, so that you're processing it that way. You're giving yourself your own therapy. But that's it, and it went away. I kept the note on my phone for the longest time, and then I would go back in and read it, and I was like, wow, I was like really pissed off that day. And I just looked back, and I just had all that anger was gone. It was nothing left but love. So
and if your dad was still around, you would have seen changes all the way up the line, like your grandparents, because shamanism believes that we have the medicine for all of these injuries, and we're carrying this epigenetic load, which means it comes in through our genetics, all these angers and frustrations and past traumas from up the line, and you chose in that moment to turn that all to love.
Oh,
And
right.
straight up, it's like a string of energy was now
I agree with that,
resolved
because
for
exactly,
everybody.
because time's an illusion. So if you can heal something in the present, it eliminates it all from the past and it heals it all from the future. And I've seen it from my parents, because pretty much everybody from my dad's side is already dead. But I've seen it from my mom's side, because she had worry and fear and all that stuff on her side, and I conquered that as well. And I can see it since I'm living with them now for another week. I could see it in their behavior. They don't have that. It's still in there, but it's much less than it was a couple of years ago. Like they've learned to just let it go, and it is what it is. Just accept it, and instead of being constantly worried and concerned about it. So it does work 100%.
And the gift, you don't have children yet, but the gift is that would not replay for all the generations to come, because you didn't do that work. So it's
Right.
magnificent when we deal with it in ourselves, because it heals it for everyone. It even goes into the collective. Once you look 10 generations up, that could be 1 million people with all the connections and downs and ups of all the daughters and sons and all this kind of stuff. So that work for self goes out into the all.
Right.
And we gotta
Exactly.
see how powerful that is.
Well, exactly, and that it shows you how everything is connected and how there is no separation, because separation is an illusion. We are all connected.
Mhm.
That's how it is. I've
Mhm.
seen things that I've decided, and I've seen the behaviors and things echo out into other random people that just come into my life. Like, oh my God, I just said that last week. Now I'm hearing it, seeing it again from another version of me. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So is there anything you want to add, Anya? We talked a lot.
No, you're fine. I think like when I was going through that purging and just looking at the shadow work, like it was so scary. It was like it's uncomfortable to be in that space, but it's also uncomfortable to like, hold on to all of this gunk and darkness. And like when I finally realized what was happening, like I just started bawling my eyes out and just asking for forgiveness. And instantly I just felt better and lighter. But like I would still keep crying it all out and just like letting it all flow. And like I had no idea what was going on at the time. I just instinctually knew that this was what needed to happen. Like I just, so much of it like added up to the mountain that it crumbled all. And I was just like, I can't live like this anymore. Like, there's got to be a different way. Like, what am I doing? And it just felt so much lighter just to even forgive myself and ask for that forgiveness while like really examining that shadow side.
So that was your first awareness break where you first started to feel this.
Yeah.
And now how's the process every day ever since?
Oh, it's like it's so much better. It's like riding a bicycle. Like you fall off a few times and then you're like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? And then you just like trust the process and you're like, oh, okay, all right, we can do this again. And if you need to cry, great, you need to cry. Like let's get it going. Let's
And
clear it
how
out.
much of a percentage of that is love and roses and smiles, and how much is the other emotion?
It's mostly the other emotions, but that's the great part. Like you just transmute it into light at the end. So it's fun.
And what do you find is the reward for doing that work each and every day?
My reality changes and I change.
Mhm.
I become, since I think I was, I don't know, maybe like 15 or 16. And what sparked me into all of this magic is, people talking about how they could change their reality. I was like, that's not possible. That's not possible. But a part of me just like always believed that. And like, it was just taking me down this rabbit hole. And a lot of it is just unblocking yourself and like looking at that shadow stuff to get the life you do want to live. And it's possible.
Mhm. And so the Anya now, is she capable of looking at any shadow, no matter how dirty and dark?
Yeah. Yeah. Like right now, I'm looking at the shadow of fear of success. And like that was brought on to me by parents and stuff. So like I'm looking at that and like even in my mind, I feel the tension. but like I know what's going on, and like I know I can conquer it by the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And just so people know, what's that feeling, right? You start off with a feeling or a sensation in your body, or a foreboding, or a scared or anxious or whatever, and how do you process through that? How do you walk through it, just so they have an idea?
You know, a lot of instinctually it's like resistance at first. You're like, no, 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 no. But then you're like, you catch yourself with that resistance because it just makes your head pound more. And so it's just allowing it to be what it is and not changing it and just not judging it. And like, you know what? I can't fuck this up. So I'm gonna allow whatever this is and just let it be as it is and just let it sit. It's because it is trapped energy. And like a lot of me, I've realized in the past, I would try to change what's going on with the after effects up here. Like it could be like a flood of those shadow thoughts, and I try to battle them up here, but then I realized like, no, it's a feeling. You have to go to the feeling, the body. Like that will like change the circuit of it.
Mm-hmm. And those are like the prison masters of the dungeon, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to talk them into opening the door, and you have the key right here.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Cool. Anything you want to add to that in your process, Patrick?
No, I do. I love that analogy though, about how your head is the prisoner of your heart. That's great. That's very apt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the book The Alchemist?
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about finding his treasure. I
Oh,
always
searches all over the place for it and keeps failing. Yeah.
That was me.
Yep.
I was that character. And like it just dawned on me the other day that like the heart or whatever, I thought it was gonna be like an award. I thought it was gonna be like a success, you know, badge or like a material thing. And I realized, fuck no, like it's right here. Like it's inside of me.
And where did he find the treasure in the end?
Inside his heart. It was right under him.
Yeah, well, he went right back to where he started, and there was. So let's talk really bit about the reward, because we talk a lot about, holy shit, this is hard, and it's a lot of ton of emotions. You said you see the change in you. At least from my perspective, I feel tide shifts, and what people need to understand is a lot of blocks are intermingled with other blocks. So you'll peel layers off of things like a dad issue or whatever, and then it's got anger issue and control issues and standing in your power issues. And it's just like peeling an onion. A lot of people will talk about it. Your eyes are all crying and whatever, but at least you've got another layer off. And it may not be the right time to deal with the next layer, because you have to deal with this mom issue or some other trauma that you had that's intertwined with it. But you said, and most people won't inherently understand this, we have the medicine to fix whatever we want. Everything is happening in perfect order, no matter how messy, gritty, or I forgot, or I missed, or I didn't do this right, or whatever. It's exactly right. And you're constantly being coaxed, and they will never give up being coaxing you to this finding. So really that surrender Patrick talked about is the key to seeing it, because a lot of times we're like trying to fix the brain and, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta change my mantra and I gotta feel better and I gotta like this, and you're contorted like this, and then you're like, am I there? What you really need to do is just like, fuck.
Right, just surrender and let go. You have so many guides that are unseen that will help you. And if you miss something, you can bet on it that they will make sure that whatever that issue is will come back into your life so that you face it. That is why you have the best team. We all do. There's so many people out there, and they will guide you through life. Just live, just be open to stuff and be aware. See what's coming into your life and find out why, and learn how to deal with everything and transmute it all into love and positivity, because you can do that. We're all a spark of the prime source in our core. So,
and that's why underneath I'm trying to build this community that's going to support all the people here. The Living Your Light community is is to have a place where people can reflect for you, and you can go off and be triggered and tell them that you're triggered, and they're going to say, okay, take some deep breaths. I deal with this all the time. And they're going to hold space for you until you calm down. And it makes the opportunity for loving interaction and loving holding, maybe in a way that you maybe don't want, but it's exactly what you need to poke you in the solar plexus there and start to release that too. If you have a community and surround yourself with people like people here, right? We all have different perspectives, but it's the same perspective. We just lived it and earned it or learned it in a different way. So trying to get in places, the flow places, go to places where people, you can be vulnerable, or people will call you on shit in nice, gentle ways. That's gonna wake you up so freaking fast. But we live in a world where we don't talk about stuff, and this is bad, and I'm broken, and I can't do this. And we've lost the ability to have anybody come into our life and start to massage us gently just through conversation, intimacy, seeing into that person, having a connection with them, having a vested interest in wanting to give them the shine back of what's going on so they don't continue to be in struggle. That's the human process. If we look at ourselves, I think it was in Anya said on the last one, it's like, it was never about us. The whole journey was never about us. It was about the combination of who did you love and what kids came into your life and all this. We were having an experience of sharing all these interdependencies with other parts of ourself, of God, like Patrick was saying, right? We're all one big, happy, energetic ball, but the whole world's forced us all to be individual little energetic balls, and we bump into each other, and it's not always great because really nobody's being vulnerable anymore. And it's terrifying to tell my vulnerability. Somebody might find out and then they'll know I'm a fraud or whatever. No, it's not. It's the minute you be real, and that's being the fake part, right? Putting up the shield. It's like, oh, I'm an engineer and I have $100 million in the account and I'm a philanthropist. No, I'm a guy sitting here by his computer and just making it up as it shows up, right? Because that's unlimitedness. That's allowing new possibility. How many people have been stuck in the same Groundhog Day for the last 25 years of their life? And they don't know why the fuck that's happening. And I hate my job and my boss is an asshole and everybody's poking me all the time. Sometimes you need to throw a little hand grenade in there, and now I'm not having a job and I'm moving over here, or I'm having a divorce. Those will clarify and enlighten you and pull you to your darkest night of the soul in a way that nothing else will. And they are divinely guided. They're not a mistake. They're not bad. You joined in with that person to make those happen. And when you come out the other side, if you've done your work, maybe you love that person even more, or you have a divorce for love. Like in my life, I love myself and I love my wife, but I had to love myself more because I was dying in what I was feeling. And nobody could understand that. It's like, what the fuck? What, divorce isn't about love or whatever. No, it's like, I need my space and I need to find myself or we're stuck, right? So, so shadow work, going into our dungeon, cleaning up the mess. We're dealing with what I call the epigenetic lineage. So your last 10 generations, every fucked up thing that's happened in all your 10 generations before. And even the culture, like Anya was talking about, Russian programming and that kind of stuff that comes into her, even though she was only a child in those days. But the programming of the parents and the culture is inherent in everything you learn, and how you, even the food you eat, everything probably got a Russian influence, right?
Oh yeah, we eat Russian food over here for sure.
So, okay.
Yeah,
so,
and the dark night of the soul that you had mentioned, in case anybody doesn't know what that is, that's basically shadow work all condensed into a very short amount of time. It's seriously intense. It's definitely not the one you would want to choose to go through, but you will get through it quicker if you do it that way.
Your higher self invents a major crisis where you probably want to maybe kill yourself, or you have no money, or you're overdosed on drugs, or have a car accident, or whatever, and it just puts your whole world in front of your eyes like that. And it'll come, and if you ignore your work, more and more of them will come until you work through them. But it's the most loving thing that how many times can they give you a bad relationship? Have you get abused by your boss or a rape or whatever, and then you're in the victim, and it's like, this is all that can happen to me because I'm bad or whatever. But it's not. It's just showing up to eventually get you to make a different choice. You may not realize that you even had a different choice. So the dark night,
what you resist persists. So
exactly. And when, that dark night of the soul is you're vomiting and puking and maybe trying to kill yourself or whatever, and it feels really, really bad, but it gives you clarity because there's no worse place that you could go at that moment. And then you can build because your feet are on a ground, no matter how icky it is, you can build from there. And it can be the most clarifying, beautiful thing. People that have had them, they may talk about the fear and stuff like that, but it'll be a self-defining moment. A lot of times 5 years later, it'll be like, fuck, that was the time when I really got clear. I stopped abusing drugs, or I stopped hurting myself, or whatever. And then they chose better because you got to the worst. No, you can't get any worse. So, okay, so we were talking about safety. We still got a little bit of time. Other things that are safety. Okay, let's talk about money for a bit. I've talked a lot. So how does money fuck us up? And how does it mangle us up in concepts that really aren't serving us, but we feel there's no other choice?
It's like, it starts from like everything, like the programming starts from when you were just born, and you hear mom or dad say, money doesn't grow on trees, like you can't get that, and like it's just ingrained in you. What's up?
You don't deserve.
Yeah, and so you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's how it is, like that's how the world operates, so I'll act in accordance to that. And then like like, what if I'm rich? Like then my friends won't like me, and I just want to be accepted, so money's bad, and like all of that, money corrupts, and like all of those phrases, and it's hard to get money. And all of that affects you. It operates, and like like, so you'll be even afraid to look into your bank account, but that fear to even log into your banking app, like that's a signal, like you're communicating all the time. And it's like energy at the end of the day. It's a relationship. Like, let's say you want a partner, like, are you gonna say, no, get away from me? Like, that's the same with the energy of money. Like, are you saying, get away from, okay, you get away from me, okay, I'll do what you say, your wish is my command. So it's like we want it, but there's just like, we're afraid of actually having it. We like the idea of it and like keeping in that story versus just having it on the other
side. Because in our hearts, the way society is painted, so many people will say, oh, money's evil. Well, money's not evil. It's just how we use things as energy exchanges on here.
Yeah.
It's all about taking us back. We need to realize that all this lack and all this hard work and all this crap that we've all had to do it, that's what's going to lead us to finally all say, okay, enough's enough. Why we have a handful of people in the world that have like trillions of dollars or something that they don't really need. Like if we decided to globally redesign our system, there's more than enough money so that we can all be wealthy. But we're trapped in this system currently because it's going to teach us to get out of it. That's why we couldn't just have this Eden system. We'd like, okay, well, we're experiencing all this lack and all this control because it's going to, more and more people as they wake up and they go through their ascension, it's going to be like, okay, well, you know what, let's all start binding together, and enough of us are going to be like, wait, I don't want to experience this anymore. And once the majority is on that page, whole world is going to change, and then we're all going to have money, and everything will be redesigned, however that shows up. So
and how many rich assholes do we know, right? The most rich people are pretty oppressive.
Right. And they themselves are so broken because they spend their lives trying to find that same thing inside that all of us ascension people find going within. They're trying to find it without by buying this car, buying this house, buying this, buying that, because they think that that's going to make them happy. But it doesn't. You need to go within and find the happiness inside of you. All the other stuff doesn't really matter.
And how many times does money really make you safe? Because, right, it's 10 bills later and that money egg that you got is gone, right? You lose your job, you lose any of those things. It's all outside of us, right? And the system's designed to eat that savings down as quickly as possible so that you're constantly in need, and then you can be controlled. So
exactly, they want you to be dependent on the system. That's their plan. So
absolutely. Well, and that's a lot of what's going on with COVID, right? The middle class is being eroded. They're shutting down all the middle class businesses, making them still pay rent and all this kind of shit, while all these big businesses are just growing. And the middle class are the people that stood up for themselves. They've found a few steps to stand on and they're awakening, but they're getting crushed right now in all this bullshit, right? So what we're saying ultimately is the money isn't the safety. It's been created in our world to say, okay, that buys our house and that gets our food and pays our insurance and our rent and those kind of things. So it's a means to an end. I used to, when I travel, I'd always check to make sure I had my wallet with me, because money solves every problem in this world, because it's like, oh, I didn't bring my shirt or whatever, I can go buy it at the store or those kind of things. So money is like a great simplifier. And when it's always there, it makes life a lot smoother. You don't have to open your banking app and say, holy shit, my credit card's got $2,000 on it and I only got $1,000 in my account. How am I going to pay the rent? And that, right? That everybody's experienced that. And that's I think that ruling class of banks and interest and all this kind of shit just crushing your heart every time. You got to go look at the numbers. And all they say is that you got to work more hours and be less in your space and busyness to fill that bank account again. So you really don't have a freedom, which is also part of safety. So now you're in this trap, this slavery of filling your bank account so that you can have some free time. And
it's the whole time versus money thing. That's the seesaw that they have set up the system on. Mm-hmm. You either have enough money to do it, but never have any time to spend it, or you have all kinds of time, but no money to do anything with the time. So
it's also that seesaw of like freedom versus safety. And like that's going on, especially right now, where people are giving up their freedoms without even realizing it for this thing of safety. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give up my...
for the invisible boogeyman.
Exactly. I got to wear this mask because it's for my safety.
Well, and the craziest thing is if you want to be safe, you wear a mask. Why do I have to wear a mask to make you safe culturally? Because it's not like my spittle is coming down around the back of your mask and you're more likely. It's like I could had the virus already and I'm immune. I could have had a vaccine. I could have had all this stuff, right?
Because they've even turned that around in the Matrix programming, and they've said, well, okay, well, the masks don't protect you from other people. You're protecting you from other people in case you have it.
Oh, because you may kill somebody and feel bad.
That's them turning. It's the most craziest time in the world. They've turned fear into a virtue, which is absolutely ridiculous. So that if you don't have this fear, you're shunned. Oh, he's not wearing a mask. He's a bad person. No, he's not. He's choosing freedom and love. But because he's choosing not to have fear, now that you're saying that's a good thing, that he doesn't, like it's a good thing for you that he is not doing that. Like it's ridiculous. We need to realize that fear is not a virtue. Fear is not something we need to have in our life. We need to let it go. The more people let go of fear and choose love, the more our reality changes. Because that old saying, what we have within reflects without. So everything that's going on in this outside world is a reflection of all the ugly shit that so many people on our planet still have inside them. Change that, everything else will change it in a second. It will all reflect it. And you ask, and Anya and Paul and everybody, you can ask anybody that's gone through this ascension process, when they've dramatically changed their life, their inner world, how magically does everything change around you to be so much nicer? Like,
it's like, I was just going to say, like, it's like an emotional addiction that it can only be this terrible. It has to be this way. It has to be with fear. It has to be with suffering. Like, this is the only way. Like, I want to go through the pain of it. I want to wear 2 masks because it feels so good. It feels so bad.
Well, it feels so safe and you don't know what the others are. So you're just going to live with it because that hasn't killed you or that hasn't hurt you enough. So we just settle at that point. But the key that people need to understand, the opposite of fear is love. So if you can be in full love, you don't have to feel fear. So we just need to transmute. We need to sit in our heart and just love ourselves, no matter what's going on, how bad it is, whatever. And then light, your vibration will rise and light starts to change and transmute everything.
I walk, this is just a random tangent, but I take walks and I like around the neighborhood, and there's like little signs that are put on the lawn. And I see this one a lot where it says, "Hate has no home here." And I think it's interesting. I'm like, okay, hate has no home here, but wouldn't it be a lot more cooler if it said love has a home here?
Mm-hmm.
Right, because you want to focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want.
Yeah.
When you're focusing on what you don't want, like you're afraid of this, I don't want this, you're, through the law of attraction, bringing that into your life. Yep. When you're not afraid of something and you're choosing love, whatever it is you were afraid of before and you don't want into your life won't actually show up. That's how the law of attraction works.
Yeah. So it's just like this like shadow ban of hate. Like that's again, like you're pushing it into a collective shadow. Like, no, like transmute it to love.
Well, isn't
exactly
just another version of fear? It's like this culture, the Black people or the Muslim people or the whatever. It's like you make them the enemy, and people will do it. And then it's happening on the streets with your neighbors, and they've been American for a whole generation or something like that, because they're trying to go after some Muslim people in the Middle East somewhere or whatever. It's crazy. And once we understand a lot of this stuff has been for control and to create wars and create terrorism and all that kind of stuff, like look at these countries where it's completely legal for someone to shoot a Hellfire missile and blow up your whole family because somebody was suspected to be a terrorist. Just out of the blue, you're instantly vaporized. Like this is happening for world peace, supposedly. But once we understand the truth of it, there was no world peace at all. It was just creating the whole schism of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a quick story about the working hours for money. So I'm an IT professional, and as I was going up the pipes or whatever, I lost my day job, which was hourly pay or whatever. The company went bankrupt, so I started to become an IT guy. And you get to this point, the way the tax system is built, where I'd be working like 9 hours a day and I had clients all through, and I was pulling in, maybe $200,000 a year or whatever, which is supposedly good. Well, guess what? As soon as you hit $100,000 a year, the tax bracket becomes 50,000 or 50%. And the system was so rigged that you really weren't getting ahead by that point. So then it's like, okay, move this into a corporation. And now corporations are taxed differently, which has a whole bunch of overhead and accounting, and now you're trying to clone yourself. So it was like, okay, I need more IT guys. So I'd hire guys that could go out and do hourly work acting as me. Well, you can't photocopy yourself. So almost always I had these IT guys that were really great at what they did, but they played games all day long and they couldn't talk to a person if their life depended on it. So having customer interaction was a key part of me. But so now all of a sudden they thought they were getting lesser. So you can't photocopy yourself. And guess what? Now all of a sudden you got to pay employment insurance and taxes for the employee and make sure they're paid every week. And then you got to have a big building. So now you have rent and utilities. And then it becomes this crushing thing of trying to magnify and multiply yourself. And to do that art of multiplying yourself and now all of a sudden have a business with 30 guys doing that, it's a miracle to get through all of that maze, dealing with your wounds and your stuff, and somehow get to that point. And now this is all being destroyed. So even that idea of money for time is fucking broken. You can never get ahead with tax systems and all this kind of stuff. I even worked and I made $165,000 a year. And once those tax brackets came, I was actually making less every month by getting ahead. Like that's how foobarred it was. So money really doesn't save anything, and the whole system was rigged against you. Whether you want to talk about that or not, we'll discuss it after all the truth comes out. But we really, in a lot of ways, didn't have a chance to get really ahead or have a big retirement savings. And then people get to retired, and then they have no busyness in their life, and then they die from disease, even though they got $1 million on the account for their retirement. because they had nothing to do. They just died because they were so busy. Thankfully, my dad found golf and he works with Citizens on Patrol and all these things that filled his life. So it's been fulfilling, but nobody's even aided in the transition to retirement nowadays. So how many people have you known ended their job and then 2 years later they died of cancer or some crazy thing and never really.
But they keep themselves busy, like, because I'm living with my parents. My stepdad and my mom are both retired. Mm-hmm. But my stepdad, even though they don't need money, he still chose to take a bus job where he's driving a school bus in the morning and in the afternoon, because he can't let go of that scheduled life. He needs something to do. He doesn't want to have all this free time. He has nothing to do. He doesn't know what to do with it. He needs that scheduled life. So
you might have to look at yourself and that can get
uncomfortable. Well, people are afraid to look at themselves. That's the thing. Like they're so big. We were so busy doing before this whole thing lockdown happened, doing. I don't need to look at myself. I could just go out. Mm-hmm. But now it's like we are stuck. We have nowhere to go, and you can only look at yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's shift to another one. We got about 25 minutes or whatever. How does family fit into your safety? Because I'll say this, it's like, okay, your mom and dad get you out and get you to college and get a good job and satisfy their ideas of what you need for safety. And then you have this fallback plan. How they say, okay, well, you can come live with us if you need to or whatever, but that has its own factors. But is that family thing really safety? Because we're finding we got a bunch of family that have all these weird ass problems of their own, and we go and sit together with them, but in a lot of ways we're replaying all our old patterns, and really we're screwing ourselves up. I want to say fucking ourselves, but by living in that pattern that generated you, so you can get pulled back into the old over and over and over again, because they're constantly demanding it, because you're the black sheep, or you're not making me feel safe over here by being who you are, which is sad. So commentary.
That's usually why you end up going back. That's why, like, Anya and I are both stuck living with our parents. But as you said, we're replaying all these old situations, and then we're giving ourselves a chance to react with our new sensibilities and awareness to transmute all that old stuff and make it into new. So that's why I know, like, when I leave this place, all the stuff from my past, it'll all be healed. It'll just be another part of me that's integrated and loved, and away we go. And like, you can tell it's meant to be, because normally it's a lot edgier with my parents when it's not meant to be. Like, they told me I wasn't allowed up for Christmas. They banned me from the house. I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm not allowed to be here. But now I'm living with them. Like, it's, so, but it's meant to be, and things are flowing a little bit easier, right? Like, so.
So while you're sitting there, are you changing them? Are you having arguments with them? Are you shifting their perspective, or what's really happening?
Things are definitely shifting with them for sure, because I'm standing in my light and being my authentic self and saying things sometimes that they don't want to hear, they don't want to see, but I'll say things, and then I'll see it reflected in them, then, because their immediate reaction is to dig in their heels and say no. But then I'll watch them as they let go. Part of them knows what I'm saying is true, and then they'll adopt that, and they're like, yeah, you're right. And then they go that going forward, but they won't tie it to me. It's not something I did for them. They chose it. So.
But as a percentage, how much of that work is done in you first before it happens in them, and then how much is you just presenting yourself and having the courage to do it and seeing the change?
Well, that's it, exactly. I had to do all my inner work before I can do any kind of changes to them, because it would be so easy to just come in here and just fall back into my old patterns and just be the old me and go along with it. But I'm choosing not to. I'm standing in my light, and seeing that reflect out of them is all the worth it. It's absolutely amazing.
But you said you've changed. How much is actually just your perception of them that's actually shown as the change in them than actually them actually changing? Because sometimes the things that triggered you before just don't trigger you anymore.
Well, no, exactly. It just slides off me now. Absolutely. And they have definitely changed a little bit, but they're still very similar to how they were. It just doesn't bother me anymore. But they have definitely changed.
So
like everybody on this planet, even all the people that are still plugged into the matrix, which my parents are, they will still come along and slowly change their ways. They're just doing it at an unconscious level.
So
because we're all going to the same place. There's no split that so many people keep thinking. All 7 billion of us are going to be going to where we're going at the same place. There's no separation.
Absolutely. So go back a year and juxtapose what's happening now and before, because obviously before you were the crazy conspiracy theorist and you were trying to convince and all that kind of stuff. And now you're still exactly that same person. Where did the softness come from?
Well, now I just choose to, I choose to pick my battle. I choose to, I accept them for how they are. They want to, they have the TV on all day and the CNN and this and like whatever, okay, like this. I just let them live their life. It's not worth it, because I have spent so much time in the past trying to show them the different truth, or at least my truths. They're like, no, they're not ready for it. So you just have to learn and love to accept people for how they are, love them however they are, and let them be. I'll speak my truth on whatever situation is in front of me, but I will not go out of my way to try and show them another way. I respect their path and their life, and that's how it is.
So you're not in battle anymore. You just have this softness, and
right.
You're still exactly the same people, but you're seeing changes without ever doing anything to them, just you.
Exactly. I'm just being my authentic self and living my life how I choose, and I allow them the same freedom, and they in turn are allowing me the same freedom. They'll still harp on me about certain things, but that's that's parents. They love you. That's them operating from love, from their box, their train of thought, right? So
and everyone, you got, this is alarm bells going off and lights shining. What Patrick and maybe Anya's got some experience as well is saying is we're changing ourselves. It was never about the struggle. It was never going for the march on the street and yelling about Greenpeace and all this kind of stuff. It was inside of us shifting that thing that couldn't accept what was, because we're living in a what was all the time, and we're struggling to change what is, rather than trying to create a vibration that can create new in the now and in forward. And that old struggle energy, everybody was taught. It's like, oh, beat them up and talk about this and scare them and all that kind of stuff. No, the scare actually makes them dig in their heels harder, and they won't take it. But now you're walking in it, and they're seeing it, and it's an example, and they're saying, holy fuck, he knows something, and why is he so happy all the time? Because you
exactly. That's how you change the world. You don't change the world by directly doing anything. Just be yourself, do your inner work, live your life, be you, shine your light. Everything will change around you. We're all lighthouses in this darkness that's everywhere, and you're just going to go and shine and shine and shine, and they can't help it on a subconscious level to be attracted to it, and it's appealing to them. So
and the leveler, I think everybody needs to understand, is there's no other reality other than your own. And if you try and mess in somebody's other's reality, like Anya, I need you to learn this and be this or whatever, you're gonna like filter it, and it's not gonna turn out anything like that. But if it's like, I'll just let everybody be who they are and accept them in, and then I get a choice. Okay, that doesn't resonate with me. This does, and then all of a sudden you're just flowing. And then it's not struggle. Oh, my friends are bad. How many of us have lost almost all of our friends and family in some way, shape, or form?
It feels great though. I feel so light. Like, who wants to stay stays, and it's so effortless. And then you flow, and then you create things together, and then all right, see you later, and then you whatever repeats the cycle.
Well, look at all the beautiful things that can never happen, like codependency and all this kind of stuff. When you're flushing out these energies that were holding you back, because that's my best friend since high school or whatever. God. And you don't even know held onto or attached to by them, right? So we get clarity when we go into our cocoon, and then the butterfly head starts sticking out, and it's like, oh, do I want this person in my life? Ooh, this feels icky.
It feels so scary to make that choice in the beginning. Like, I remember when I was like I was like, oh shit, I have toxic friends. Like, oh shit, I need to get rid of them. And it was so scary because I was like, who am I going to hang out with? Like, who am I going to go to these places with? And then I just did it. And like, it was just so much lighter on the other side. And like, I'm my own best friend. I take myself everywhere and I get to meet fun people that way.
And I think people need to understand that Patrick, Anya, and I have only known each other for like a month and a half maximum. We just resonated on some posts, and now we're sharing universal truth on a bi-weekly or twice weekly basis because we love it. It resonates with us. None of us want to change. We just want to hear all the perspectives and create something better by having other people understand these like real universal truths we had to work our ass off to figure out and cheese grate our forehead every day for years. That's how it feels sometimes. And we're sharing it now. And we love loving and we smile a lot and we're happy because we went to all of that and we heard it, and we don't have to stand under it anymore.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than work a 9-to-5 job again.
Well, and some people would say, well, look at you're stuck with your mom and dad and you barely have any money and all this kind of stuff. No, without that clarity, I can't be anything to this world. I'm just a drone. I'm a robot and it beats me down. We smile because we do the inner work. We lay in bed sometimes and vomit and cry and retch because we don't want to be stuck in that trap anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like dirt that's mucked all on our insides. Who was saying that yesterday? Oh, Lori Ladd had it in her last video, and it's like we're corrupted by all this trauma, and it's like this mud that's stuck on the inside of us, and we can't even see the bits of ourselves, and everything's all crunchy and rusty and all this kind of stuff, because that's what the world wants us to do. You got to stay in this cage, and you're a bad girl and you're a bad boy, because they don't want you to be free. The freedom is yours and waiting for you. We can guarantee it. We may sound free, it may sound scary and all this kind of stuff, but we feel the freedom. Yes?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And the more of us that get to that point, then all the other things will come, because then all the people that have the old mindset will all have the new mindset and we'll all have everything. So you'll still have all these new sensibilities, and then you'll have all your things and your heads and your vacations and all these other things that are going to come back. It's only because the people like us are in the minority right now. That's why a lot of us don't have these things. But it's changing. It's inevitable. The whole world is going to end up in the mind space that we have.
And did money really give you
planet's destiny?
Oh, good. Did money even really give you freedom? When you got extra money, it just slips through your hands.
I live on less now than I did when I was working. I made a lot more money when I was working, and I had nothing to show for it. And since I've been off work, I spend so much less, but I'm so much happier and I have everything I need. So
it's been working really crazy on my end, where I just started giving. Like, and like when I didn't used to do this before, like I'll just give my friends random shit. Like I'll just gift them like whatever it is, like, or even donate money to their vision. Like, and I've never done that before, but I'm like in that space, and like my relationship with money changed also. And I'm just like, it's always going to come. It's always going to come. And it's just like that law of giving and receiving. Like, I don't even care anymore. I've never enjoyed giving, but now I do.
Well, you probably grew up as an overgiver, and you overgave in all your relationships, and they never gave you a chance to receive.
Yeah.
So you just get trapped in that. But look at the transition you've made just by knowing yourself, and it feels good, and trusting it.
Yeah.
That's big. That's big. Was there any more in our list? I'm trying to remember back. I should have written them down when I did, but anything else that we hang on to for safety in this world?
Our mask, our illusionary mask that we put on to cope with the day-to-day.
Describe that for you.
Oh, I had to put on a performance to feel safe. I had to pretend to be something I'm not, through learned actions and behaviors. So I had that ready to go. And even my clothes that I was wearing, like I had to wear a certain thing to feel safe. Clothing, my background is in fashion, so that whole psychology will always fascinate me. But like even wearing certain clothes to feel safe, like I know I'll be accepted if I wear this.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
crazy.
that's programmed right from high school onwards, right? Junior high, it's like you're not wearing the right shoes, you're not wearing this or whatever, and you get banished or bullied.
Yeah,
And
and
things you never wear. Like I never would wear sweats. Now I wear them all the time. I would do. This is the sweater. This is like my favorite sweater. It's one of those. I look at it. It's like the traditional hippie sweaters from all the guys
poncho.
60s wear. Right? Exactly, a poncho. I would never wear this 5 years ago. I was like, that's such a cheap ghetto-y thing to wear. This is like my favorite thing. I wear it all the time. It's amazing.
Well, I'll wear mine next time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, like I knew that like I didn't even know that I would just wear the same thing. Like my parents came from an immigrant background with whatever, like so like I couldn't get clothes all the time. So I'd wear the same thing and it didn't bother me until like a classmate peer like called me out on that, like, you wear the same thing every single day. And I'm like, fuck, like, and that made me feel like shit. And then like I felt like Superman when I like started buying into that and like hiding whatever I could and just, you know, by having that mask. And that's not a bad thing. I think fashion is very powerful, like if you play it right. But for the most part, like we just get that Gucci bag so we could keep up with the Joneses.
But once you got that Gucci bag, it just wore out and you weren't that special after a long time. You'd carry it around and hope people would notice and nobody really cared.
Mm-hmm.
They actually purposely did not because it triggered them that they didn't have one. And what a game, you know?
Yeah.
So cool. So the mask also went into, I'd conjecture how you carried yourself, how you'd respond to certain people. Were you subservient to your boss? Were you whatever because you wanted to go ahead?
Well, no, that was just powerful for me because I got it from my parents because they were immigrants, so they had to be on their P's and Q's because, you know, they're in America, so they gotta move around differently. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I got that. And I'm still battling that with to this day. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say that. And I'm like, I battle with like how I need to say things to particular business opportunities. And like, I lose myself and I shoot myself in the foot.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I'd want to look it up, but as a percentage, it's only like 2 or 3 generations and something like 70% of America is immigrants anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're all immigrants unless you're indigenous people, right?
Native Indian or whatever, right? So you can't, everybody's immigrants. They're sat in that period of exploration and they're coming to this better place, which America was always the cream of the crop. Immigrants haven't been treated very well for most of that history either, right? So, anything else you want to add about masks or complying or fitting in, Patrick?
Just follow your heart. Don't do what's expected of you because you're afraid that people are going to tease you or make fun of you. Do what's in your heart.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And a lot of things like Anya was talking, especially for young women, I see it all the time. It's like, this is the makeup you have to wear and you got to wear these shoes and these kind of jeans, and because it's from the TV and that's what the superstar did or whatever. And I don't think girls have a chance, right? It's like, wear your hair this way and do this, and you got to have big breasts and you got to have whatever and get butt implants or whatever the flavor of the day is, even modifying their genitals because it doesn't look the same in porn or whatever. Like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
And then we get into roles, like especially I'm an engineer by trade. I don't identify with it. I used to wear the engineering ring all the time and people would treat me different all the time just because that ring was there. And at the beginning it was like, oh, that's fun or whatever. But when you really understand, most people think that engineers are arrogant assholes. And I did not want that. My uncle, before I went into engineering school, he said, he was a humble man. He just came, took me to the side, gave me a beer, and he says, every fucking engineer I've ever met in my life was an asshole. If you turn into an asshole, I'm gonna come and kick your ass. That was the best advice he could ever give me, because it's like a doctor. It's like, oh, doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? They're the top three classes or roles in the world. I don't think they are anymore, but they pull in a lot of money.
You're naming every single member of my family.
Okay.
They're all of those top three things. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And they've got ahead, and they're probably upper middle class, and they got a nice house, and they've met this goal, but eventually you find that the goal is hollow as hell. I got to be ignorant like all these other guys, and I got to toe in if I want to be a partner in the organization and do these things that are against me. No friggin' way. So I stopped using that term. I stopped identifying that way, but that's a mask that I wore, right? I'm the engineer. Oh, I'm the IT guy. That's another one that's, it's kind of icky, because we're like kind of the lower class in a lot of ways, or the geeks or whatever. A father, a coach, like soccer coach or whatever. I've done lots of those things in my past. They all have labels. They all have expectations. They all have these things about how you can be and how you can talk. And we're programmed societally to have those. So can you imagine? It's like, okay, I wake up in the morning and I'm with my wife, and it's like, hi, how are you? And have a good day. And then kids, it's like, okay, you better take your lunch and get to school. And then you're driving to work, and you're just a little bit of me time. So you're relaxed. You get to the office, and now it's like, okay, I got to be this way. And then you go home and coach, and now you got to be this way. And somebody's yelling at you, you got to be this way. Those are the masks.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to identify with one of them. I think, at least for me, I'm throwing those out. Those labels, think of like sticky notes on your forehead all day long. This is who I am, and this is what I got to be, and you don't even know, and you're twisted like this because those labels are saying I got to be. And once you can start to separate from those labels, do you identify with any of those names? Okay, you're a woman, I'm a man. What other labels do you still identify with as you've got to more of this aware place? I don't see many. Like fatherhood is just more seeing into my kids and being accepting rather than, oh, I gotta control you and give you rules or else you're gonna go and get drugs and die or something, right? Any other labels you can think of?
I kind of dropped on mine. I'm just a spark of source in a human meat suit having an experience.
Yeah.
Cool. And we're love, right? We're love. We want to share from our experience to hopefully activate people into having less struggle in their life. Is all we're doing here.
Yeah, trying to show you a better way, trying to show you things that, identify with that. You're not alone. Whatever you're going on, there's more people that have it. Yeah. Guaranteed you're not alone.
We haven't beat anybody. We haven't succeeded at their loss. We just came and we really focused, and the universe gave us lots of time to really focus on ourselves, moving in home and other stuff. And we got an awareness. And that's what a way shower is. You can call it a guide or a light worker or whatever, but a way shower is, I went through all the shit. I know exactly how you feel. Here's what I found. And I'm willing to share that with you. If you're willing to listen, I might be able to give you a shortcut. Not that I want you to have that shortcut or make your experience less. I just want your struggle. We've got 1,000% struggle. And if I can drop that by 100%, so it's now only 900, I would love to. Not change you, fix you, whatever, but minimize that struggle. And then if I give you that gift of this new awareness, maybe you'll give that to somebody else. And it becomes this tree of sharing and tree of life and expansion, because I'm part of you. I'm part of Anya. I'm part of Patrick. I'm part of every single 8 billion people in this world, because we're all in the flux of the chaos energy and the quantum mechanics. And my little understanding and dealing with some collective energy just poofs into the fabric of time and
all
space.
ripples in a pond of the ocean that is humanity. So that's the analogy I love to use.
And that's where our change. I took off all the labels. I took off all the sticky notes. I'm now clean and aware, and I'm going to see distruth in other people. So maybe just by talking to one of us, is going to be able to shine some light into you and say, why are you saying that about yourself? You keep saying you're stupid and you can't understand or whatever. And just even the question is like, where did that first start? How's that happening in your life? Why? Did your dad say that? Did your mom? And those little things will just like, holy shit, like the avalanche comes and it's like, fuck, I've been shoulding and coulding myself. Should and could has no affirmative energy in it. It's kind of like try, where if you say I will and can and do. So you, even hearing people say I should do that, I really could do that when I'm ready, it's really just affirmative action for nothing.
Yeah, it's disempowering.
Absolutely. So talking like this, listening to what we're saying, letting that seed go in and say, holy shit, maybe I am doing that. I don't want to force it down your throat. I want you to get in there and just like, you wake up in the middle of the night and say, holy fuck, I'm not doing that again. That's so stupid. But it was what we were taught and what we were doing. The realization cannot be provided by someone else. The realization is only a seed that maybe we can plant. And that person came to have that receipt of that gift of realization. How many times have you had a 1,000,000-watt light bulb go off in your head and it's like, oh, frick, I've been doing that. I'm not, that's not helping me. And that's your realization. And that's the gift of the steps of awakening that people will go through. And your guides and everybody's trying to get you to make the realization so you step out. So, closing statements.
Just trust yourself in the process and know that safety can be found within, like everything else. It's all just love and trust yourself, and everything will work out. Just keep doing your inner work, going within, finding all that crap, peeling back all the layers, realizing the masks you're wearing. Let go of the image that you think you're supposed to have, and just find out who you are. Most people don't even know who they are. Yep. Do all that work, find out who you are. I guarantee you, whatever you find down there after all the ugly work, you're gonna love it, because it's who you truly are at your core. And then as you build yourself back up, everything just gets better and better and better. It's absolutely amazing. And
can that safety ever be taken from you?
No, exactly, because it's a feeling you're choosing to generate yourself. You're not a reactor anymore, you're a generator. So nobody can take anything from you.
And most likely
all comes from within.
At that same time, you're fully in your power. You are standing
exactly.
a warrior. Your safety comes from, I can defend myself. I don't have to know karate, but I'm not fucking gonna let people talk to me like that ever again.
Exactly. I create my own personal reality bubble, and I can't even tell you the last time somebody's come into my life to create conflict, because I don't have any conflict within me anymore. So why would that be created in my life? So
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that feeling, it is all like a feeling that we are after. It's just sometimes we get a little delusional because of the programming. It's like, oh, I want this car, I want this house, I want these clothes. But those are things, but what is the feeling behind those things that you are aiming to feel? Is it you want to feel good? You want to feel approved? You want to feel secure? And like really ask yourself why. Because it'll just help you shortcut it and get there faster. Because maybe it's not that thing that brings it to you. Maybe it's something else. But like having that feeling, you'll just be the attractor of it.
Mm-hmm. I think we could do a whole episode on the why. Because if people can always, when things are going sideways, ask the why. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I angry? Why is my dad showing up this way or whatever? Oh, so much clarity. So, okay, so yeah, I'll build on what Patrick says. There's nothing that we're ever doing wrong. This awareness that we're speaking of is all of what our guides in the world and all the nasty things or good things or whatever that are happening in our world is to get us to this awareness and choosing us and not getting our safety from making our boss happier, our mom happier, our kids happier or whatever. And then it'll all fall down because they're never always going to be safe. And really your house of cards just implodes all the time. When you start to step to the bottom of that dark night of the soul and build yourself up and say, okay, I'm choosing this for me. It can't involve my wife. It can't involve my kids. It can't involve any of the parents. or any of the stories, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, my safety comes from, I say ho'oponopono to myself all the time. I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. There's absolutely nothing that I've done that's so bad that I can't forgive myself and release myself from. And then you just build up, and then it's like, okay, now I'm in that happy place. Now build up again. And there's always going to be layers until you're just shining and you're giggling all the time and you're happy and you're meeting people that are just like that want to share that with the world. And that's why we want to build community. That's why we want to support people in their journey, because we didn't get to this place to go in our cabin over here and live on a beach in our abundance with a ton of money. We came here because we want to show people there's a better way. We want to show people to find that love in themselves and realize that it was a trap that we were building into our entire life just to be a slave or to do this thing in this way. And if that can come into your head and then you can start to accept help, you can invite people that are going to accelerate your vibration and show you where you're peeing on yourself sometimes. We were joking about that earlier. Because we keep doing this. The world wants us to stay low, and they want us to stay controllable. And I don't think there's a controllable person on this screen right now. And we've learned that, and we want to share that. And it's not a better, it's not a whatever. It's like we're all came here to get to a place like this or a version. And I don't got all my shit pulled together, no matter what people think or how I talk. Shit, I still got problems. I got dad issues, mom issues, relationship issues that show up, but I chose to be happy. I didn't get destroyed by them every time. And that's what we're doing each day. So I honor the two of you for all your shining light that you've projected into your life and all your families and all the people around you, and for sharing that here.
Thank you.
Everybody else.
Thank you. Thanks for providing the space for us to be able to do that.
I love it. And if people want to help us, we're not all technical, whatever, but we want to create places where we can store all these videos and have like course content or other places where it's all collected in one place and people can find all the different topics and cross-reference. We're trying to use Facebook, but we're just starting out. So if people have cool ideas or here's a wonderful tool, just come tell us about it, because we're building a community. We want to have a community talking space, like where you can blog back and forth. We're going to try and use Facebook, but what if Facebook doesn't stick around for a long time or they start censoring things? We want to have a place where we can go in and just have vulnerable conversations without anybody else staring at it other than people that are verified people that are doing the work. Because we don't want trolls. We don't want all that shit. We want to have loving people that are ready to do the work and step up. So we're looking for all those things. There's a lot going on in the background. We're gonna publish a first aid video here. We did it earlier this week, and it's something as the energy gets out of control and the truth comes in and people are going sideways. It's going to be something that you can just for free send to people, and it's got a paper that tells you ideas, and at least maybe they can get grounded and they're not like so struggling and scared. And we're going to offer our help to people that are kind of running into it. So these are all things that are happening in the background. We're going to start having some calls that are community based, where people can come in right on the Zoom with us and start asking their questions. Just if that's stuff you love and you want to join or whatever, just put it in the comments and we'll start getting you on the list and getting you in the groups and stuff. So yeah, we just want to have a pile of fun with like-minded people that are exploding and crying and happy and all that, because after the cry comes the smile and the calm breath and the awareness, and that's the beautiful gift that you can share with another after you've cleaned something up, right? So cool. Thanking everybody that's attended and loving you all, and we'll see you Monday at 3 Mountain, whatever the GMT -7, or it's maybe night 6 now with the time change. So
2 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. Pacific. Yeah. So thanks all. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right.